We're going to talk about happy. There's something kind of messed up about finally getting something good and not knowing what to do with it. I mean, you wanted peace, right? You prayed for peace. You worked for peace. You went to therapy to find peace. You stopped talking to certain people to find peace. You changed your habits. You changed your circle. You even changed the way you respond. And some of you changed your entire freaking life. And then peace finally shows up. And you're standing there like, okay, what's the catch? Because some of us are really good at surviving. We know what to do when everything goes sideways. Crisis? I got you. Chaos? I know that dance. Somebody disappoints me? Cool. Been there, done that. Something falls apart? Give me 5 minutes. I'll build a spreadsheet, make a couple phone calls, a couple texts. I'll detach emotionally and somehow convince everybody else I'm fine. Why? Because we're professionals at some of the shit we never asked to become good at. But happy? Happy can feel strange. And I don't mean fake happy. I don't mean walking around with some cheesy smile on your face like you got recruited for a toothpaste commercial. I mean actual happiness, the kind that shows up when, for one moment, nothing needs to be fixed, nothing needs to be defended, nothing needs to be survived. And yet, somehow, that can still feel terrifying. Welcome back to Between Sessions with Markus. This is the Feelings Wheel series, and we had started with fear, and today we're going somewhere completely different. We're talking about happy, except when you look at it on the feelings wheel, happy isn't one emotion. It starts opening up, optimistic, confident, strong, joyful, aroused, loving. And then those open up again if you take the wheel out further. Proud, self assured, courageous, inspired, ecstatic, delighted, playful. Let's see what else. Generous. There is a whole emotional vocabulary hiding underneath that one word, happy. Now, that does matter because emotional health is not just learning how to identify pain. Sometimes emotional health means getting better at identifying what feels good. Psychologists sometimes call this emotional granularity. It's basically our ability to describe emotional experiences with more precision. Instead of saying, I feel good. Maybe I feel proud. Maybe I feel relieved. Maybe I feel playful. Maybe I feel connected. Maybe I feel hopeful. Maybe I feel confident. And the more accurately we can name what we're experiencing, the better chance we have of actually understanding what we need. We spend a lot of time in mental health talking about naming the pain. And we should, don't get me wrong. Anger matters. Fear matters. Grief matters. Shame matters. But I think some of us have become so fluent in suffering that happiness becomes this foreign language we understand intellectually, but we barely speak it. So today I want to talk about three pieces of this wheel: proud, joyful, and playful. Because those three can tell us a hell of a lot about whether we're actually living our lives or if we're just managing them. So let's start with proud. And I already know somebody got uncomfortable when we said the word proud because pride has gotten such a bad reputation, especially if you grew up in certain families, certain cultures, certain churches, certain environments where humility somehow meant pretending you had nothing worth celebrating. You accomplish something and immediately start to minimize it. Somebody compliments you and you say, "Oh, it was nothing. No, it was not nothing. You worked your ass off. Take the compliment. But some of us learned humility so aggressively that we started confusing it with having to disappear. We learned to shrink our accomplishments because we didn't want somebody thinking we were arrogant. And we learned to qualify everything. I'm proud of myself, but stop. Why is there always a but? I'm proud of myself, but I still have work to do. Of course you do. You're alive, aren't you? There will always be work to do. That doesn't cancel what you already did. Growth is not a courtroom where every accomplishment needs a cross examination. No, you are allowed to look at something you survived, built, changed, learned, repaired, completed, or became and say, damn, I did that. Not alone, not perfectly, not without help from here, from there, from everywhere, but you were there. You made decisions, right? You got up, you kept moving, you changed something. And there's a psychological difference between healthy pride and grandiosity, right? Healthy pride says, I recognize my effort. Grandiosity says, I'm better than everybody else. Now, those are not the same thing, not even close. Healthy pride is actually connected to what? Self efficacy. That belief that our actions matter, that we can influence our lives, that we can learn, adapt, grow, make different choices. And some people need to rebuild that belief because life taught them the exact opposite. Maybe you spent years believing you were powerless. I get it. Maybe addiction convinced you that you couldn't change. Been there, done that. Maybe trauma taught you that everything could be taken from you. Maybe somebody kept reminding you who used to be every time you tried to become somebody different, and eventually you changed anyway. Now, here's the weird part. Sometimes people around you still haven't adjusted, right? They still remember your worst chapter. They still expect your old reactions, your old behaviors, your old versions. And you start thinking again, just to make everybody else comfortable, you start changing. No, don't do that. You do not need to apologize because your healing disrupted somebody else's version of you. You're allowed to be proud. I say that again, you're allowed to be proud. And I'm going to say something else that might bother somebody. Sometimes people will call your confidence arrogance because your insecurity was easier for them to manage. Read that again in your head. Your insecurity may have made you easier to control. Your silence may have made you easier to tolerate. Your self doubt may have made certain relationships feel safer. Then you healed a little bit. You found your voice, built some boundaries, started trusting yourself, and suddenly somebody says, you've changed. Well, heck yeah, I've changed. That was the freaking point, right? Now let's move outward again. This time we're going to talk about joyful. Now, this one gets a little bit complicated because joy is not the same thing as happiness. Happiness is often connected to circumstances. Something good happens, you feel happy. Joy, though, is much deeper. It can exist inside circumstances that are still imperfect. You can be grieving and still experience joy. You can be exhausted and still laugh. You can be struggling financially and still have one beautiful dinner with somebody you love. You can be recovering and still enjoy your life before everything is fixed. That matters because some people keep postponing joy until life becomes perfect. When I get a job, when I lose weight, when this relationship gets better, when I finish school, when I make more money, when the kids are okay, when I finally get my shit together. then, then I will enjoy myself, except life keeps moving and the finish line keeps moving with it. So joy becomes something you're constantly preparing to experiencing instead of something you actually get to experience. And then something good does happen and you're still over here like, I can't enjoy this. Because why? Your brain is already scanning the horizon. What could go wrong? When's the next shoe gonna fall? Who's gonna ruin this for me? What did I forget? What am I missing? What bill's coming? What did I forget? What phone call am I about to get? Anybody ever really had a good day and your brain goes, hold up. That's kind of interesting. That's a little suspicious. That's not uncommon. When someone has lived through prolonged stress, trauma, instability, addiction, unpredictable relationships, chronic crisis, nervous systems can be very good at threat detection. That system helped you survive. But sometimes it keeps you working overtime even when the environment has changed. So a good moment arrives, and instead of entering into it, you inspect it. You stand outside the experience like a security guard, checking the exits, watching the faces, waiting for the temperature in the room to change. And here's where we need to be careful. I'm not saying to just relax. Right. God, I hate that phrase. Nobody has ever relaxed because somebody told them to relax, right? I'm having a panic attack. Have you tried calming down? Brilliant. Somebody get this man a doctorate. The work is not forcing yourself to feel safe. No, the work is slowly recognizing when danger is no longer happening. Now, that is different. Your body may still be responding to something your mind knows is over, and healing sometimes means letting your body gather enough new evidence. This moment is okay. This person is safe. This laugh is allowed. This dinner can just be dinner. This vacation doesn't need to have a crisis. This relationship does not need chaos to feel real. This good thing does not automatically owe you pain later, because I think some of us unconsciously believe happiness comes with an invoice. Something good happens and we're waiting for the bill. And eventually you have to ask yourself, how long am I going to keep charging today for what happened yesterday? Because that gets expensive, right? Joy doesn't erase pain. It doesn't betray grief. It does not mean you forget what happened. Sometimes joy is simply refusing to let pain own every room in the house. You can remember it. You can grieve it, absolutely. You can carry the scars and still laugh your ass off tonight. Those truths are allowed to live in the same body. And then there's the third one, playful. This one might be my favorite. Because when did everybody get so damn serious about everything? At what age did we decide adulthood meant becoming emotionally constipated? Some of us have forgotten how to play, how to relax. And I'm not just talking about games. Because what? Play is spontaneity, curiosity, humor. Play can be creativity, doing something because it feels good instead of just because it's productive. There are adults who cannot do anything without turning it into a goal. Go for a walk, track the steps. Read a book, how many pages? You know them? Go to the gym, measure everything. How many sets, how many reps? Take a hobby, monetize it. Post it. Build a brand. Create a side hustle. Bam. Can we color a picture without starting an Etsy store? Play has value because it interrupts constant performance. Children understand this naturally, right? They do something because the doing itself is enjoyable. We as adults, We forget that, especially adults who had to grow up quickly. People who became responsible at a young age, people who had to monitor other people's emotions, people who had to live in unstable homes, people who learned that being useful kept them safe. You may have learned very early, don't be loud, don't need too much, don't cause problems, stay alert, be responsible, help, fix it, take care of everybody. And somewhere inside of that, play started feeling irresponsible. Rest started to feel lazy. Joy started feeling indulgent. Fun started feeling like something that we had to earn. But here's the problem. Think about this. You can be incredibly competent and still be miserable. You can become dependable, successful even, responsible, productive, reliable, and slowly build a life where everybody can count on you except you, because you've never learned how to be yourself unless you were accomplishing something. That's not peace, my friend. That is productivity wearing a halo. Play matters psychologically because it allows flexibility, it allows imagination, it allows connection, it allows experimentation. It reminds our nervous system that not every moment requires vigilance. Not every interaction is an evaluation. Not every decision has consequences that will destroy our life. Sometimes you can just be ridiculous, laugh too loud, dance horribly, sing the wrong lyrics to the song, drive somewhere for absolutely no reason, eat something completely unnecessary, ice cream, watch a stupid movie, tell a joke that absolutely should not have been funny, and laugh anyway, right? Life can't only be about recovery. Life cannot only be about healing. Life cannot only be about processing. Because at some point, you have to live the damn thing we're healing from. That line matters because sometimes we become so focused on fixing ourselves that healing becomes another prison, another project, another way of saying, I'm still not enough yet. Maybe the goal was never becoming perfectly healed. Maybe the goal was becoming present enough to actually experience your life. You know, the messy ones, the sacred ones, the stupid parts, the beautiful parts, all of it. All of it. And here's what I think we miss when we talk about happiness. We treat it like some sort of reward, something life gives you when you finally get everything right. But happiness is not some graduation ceremony. You don't receive it after completing all the required coursework and suffering. No, you're not waiting for somebody to hand you a certificate that says, congratulations, you have officially struggled enough. You may now enjoy your life. Now, nobody's coming with that certificate. And if you keep waiting for permission, you may spend decades standing outside a life you already built. And that may be the hardest part. Some of you fought like hell to get here. Me too. Not here as in perfect, but here as in alive, here as in different, here as in changed, here as in more honest, here as in sober, here as in still learning, here as in softer, here as in stronger, here as in finally recognizing yourself again, and you still stand at the doorway like you need somebody else to invite you inside. You don't. You live here. This is your life. So walk in it. Be proud of something and actually say it. I am proud of myself for, and you finish the sentence without putting yourself down. Let something make you joyful without interrogating it. Let yourself laugh before you analyze why you're even laughing. let yourself be so playful without turning it into something productive. Hell, call somebody you love, go somewhere, eat the dessert, eat the sushi, play the song too loud, buy the stupid little thing that makes you smile, even if you can afford it. Wear the shirt, take the picture, celebrate that milestone, tell somebody you love them, tell yourself you did a good job. And if your brain immediately says, yeah, but tell it to shut the hell up for 5 minutes. We'll process that later because you fought too hard to build this life to keep living like a visitor inside of it. And maybe that is the altar today. Not choosing happiness, because that does kind of feel cheap. That's a Hallmark word. Life's too complicated for that way. Maybe the altar is simply this. Stop acting like joy is something you have to earn twice. You already paid enough. You already learned enough through the pain. You've already spent enough nights wondering if things were ever going to change. So when something good shows up, maybe you don't need to brace. Maybe you don't need to minimize it. Maybe you don't need to explain it. Maybe you can just sit there and say, this is good. And stay there just for a minute. Not for the entire future, not for the past. There's no invoice, there's no apology, just this. Because happy is not pretending that nothing hurts. No, happy is realizing pain doesn't get exclusive ownership of your life or my life anymore. And maybe if everything you've survived, and you deserve to know what that feels like, because presence before progress. I'm Markus.